Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Awaken to Your Soul Path. I am, as always, your host, Barbara, and today I'm joined by the wonderful Anne Law, and we are going to be talking about the law of wellness, no pun intended. I'm very, very grateful that you're here today, Anne, and I'm very much looking forward to our talk. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Yes, exciting to be here.
Right, we've spoken at length already about a variety of topics, and you chose this topic for a reason. So maybe you can share with our viewers and our listeners what the law of wellness is to you and why it's so important that we talk about it today.
The Law of Wellness is the title of my new book, which is a comprehensive guide to achieve perfect weight, the prevention of all chronic illness, and lifetime health.
I love it.
Yes, so it's very comprehensive. But I was so delighted. My book right now is in copyright.
Hmm.
It was just edited by an editor that I did not know, but she finished very recently and she just sent me this testimonial. And I just couldn't believe it. She said, I was hired to edit The Law of Wellness and expected it to just be another book to edit. Instead, it changed my life. Never for one split second of my entire 74 years did I think I would be a vegetarian, let alone a vegan. But after reading just a quarter of the book, I was compelled to entirely change the way I was eating. And it's not that hard. I've even gotten the hang of ordering at restaurants. So far, my cholesterol has come down 20 points, and I have lost nearly 10 of the 15 pounds I needed to lose.
Wow.
Anne covers everything in her book, even how to retrain your brain by telling yourself things like, nothing tastes as good as thin feels. There is so much information, but it is clearly presented and understandable. The 80 plus recipes show you that you can eat really well as a vegan with the side benefit of being healthy. It was such a comprehensive testimonial in very, very few words, actually, but it actually is the essence of what I was prayerful of creating. So
Then I would say mission succeeded.
it appears that way. Of course, I have trained others as I was writing the book.
Mm.
As a matter of fact, someone who worked for me came in and she said, I've been trying to lose 30 pounds for so many years that I've given up. And I said, well, look, I'll just, we're going to be right here together working. So why, just follow me around and see how it looks, how it goes. And so within 3 months, she lost 30 pounds and has not gained it back and is no longer on statins for her cholesterol level. And she's quite a happy camper. And that's a classic story, actually, because when we know exactly what to eat and why, when the why is clear, the how is easy. And I
Mm.
think that is true. And so this is all about the why, and so that the how will be easy. So this will train you very quickly in how to be well for a lifetime.
I'm looking forward to your book because we talked about this before. I have just come back from my second week going to an allergy clinic in Germany because I had severe food allergies to the point that I was allergic for 100 different types of foods and drinks, and even vegetables were not my friend and were making me sick. So
Wow.
there was almost
Yes.
even water. I was even allergic to water and had a response to water. So it was really bad and it was going towards autoimmune, but it is definitely triggered by the scientists who messed with our food and genetically manipulated
Exactly.
it.
Yes.
And it might have started with one allergy that was already genetically there,
Yes.
and then
Mhm.
further triggered by everything that has been put in our food without our knowledge. And
Very.
I know from talking to you, but also talking to other friends I have in the States, I know that there are less regulations in the United States than there are in Europe. And then
That's
even
true.
between the Netherlands and Germany and France and Italy, there are discrepancies. Where in Germany it's very strict, not a lot of things are allowed, while in other countries certain things are allowed, while in the United States almost everything is allowed. And a lot of those things are not allowed in Europe. And we get them inside of us, but we also
Yes,
pee them out. So they also are in our water, in our tap water, even when it's filtered. So I think it's really good that there's more awareness for things like this, because when the things that you ingest every single day are not contributing to your health, but the
the
opposite,
opposite.
it's
Mhm.
good to know.
It's imperative. As a matter of fact, we right now in the United States essentially have a health crisis. I
Yes.
call it that because the primary cause right now, in really, cigarette smoking was always the single leading cause of preventable illness and death. And
Hmm.
now obesity and overweight now equals cigarette smoking as a detriment to health. So the first thing one has to think about is to be well for a lifetime is what am I eating? Because 80% of long-term health is really about what you choose to eat. And as you mentioned, in this country, we are the most liberal in terms of what we allow to be put in our foods, to the point where we have used so many antibiotics and so many hormones to fatten and to do whatever we do with food that it is injurious to our health. And we are seeing so many more people in our country who have allergies that were never even known before,
Yes.
which leads to autoimmune disease and that don't even have names.
Well, yeah,
But they're
exactly.
they're extremely dangerous to our health. And we've allowed this to happen. So
Yes.
my hope, because I have a whole chapter on everything we allow in foods that shouldn't be there,
Hmm.
and about, the power of organic farming and all the things that go into good food for you. And so we certainly cover that as well, not to mention all of the chemicals, not just antibiotics and hormones, but there were 1,600 allowed colors, flavors, and chemicals in our foods.
Yes.
So, and what we need to do is to learn how to avoid them. And
For
that is
sure.
possible.
Yeah.
So that's another chapter. And then there's another chapter about, are we using too many prescribed medications
Hmm.
when a healthy body is so enormously well designed that it does not need medication to make it
No,
better. So
exactly.
it's feeding big pharma a lot of money, and they love it when they can put you on a medication that you're going to be taking for life.
Yes.
When in fact, unless there are unique circumstances, there are certain diseases that are that you are born with, that that's one thing. But all the others are chronic illness, mainly all forms of heart disease, which is stroke, high blood pressure, cardiac arrest. All of those things are preventable by
Hmm.
what we choose to do. And it's largely the most important thing we need to eliminate from our diet is saturated fat and cholesterol. And where those things lie are mostly in meat and dairy. So we have been very poorly trained about how to help this body stay well for a lifetime.
not just that, we are also being presented with so many options that are not in our best interest. Because you talked about the autoimmune thing that don't even have names. That is, in essence, what was happening to me. I was even
Exactly.
allergic to the allergic response of my body, being allergic to histamines. I was allergic to magnesium and calcium and vitamin B6 and a lot of other things that should normally just happen in your body. It became so oversensitized that it started to allergic respond to almost everything that I was putting into my body. And the sheer amount of it was overwhelming when I discovered it. And I already started eating a long time ago with the concept in mind. I only eat food that the caveman recognizes as food. So that means whole vegetable.
Before,
Yes.
before all the manipulation of food.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. I already don't eat a lot of sugar or no sugar at all. Actually, I've never really been a fan. And I ate non-processed things. I never had
right.
here steam meals are very popular or these
Yes.
pre-made meals, but you don't know what's in them. Or when you enter in the supermarket, you see cookies and chips and all of these fabricated foods. But it's even, I don't know if you have it in the States, but here we have prepackaged vegetables where they've already sliced the mushrooms for you, or they've already peeled the carrots for you, or things like that. But then they put them in little bags that are filled with gas. And that gas is also bad for your health, but a lot of people don't know this,
Know
and they
that.
think, oh, this is convenient that I don't have to cut it.
Exactly. And the
And a
same
lot of
with all these other convenience foods. Well, there's a lot of chemicals in there that make them convenient, but not necessarily good. And
Yes,
we have there's no education for the average person because all of the education about food comes from the big food industry because
yes.
they don't care about your health.
Well, they
They
care
want to
about
sell
your
you food.
health to the point where they want to keep you sick. And a lot of food is altered or injected with things that keep us sick because, like you said, when we are sick, we need medication probably for the rest of our lives. Ka-ching. We need therapy probably for the rest of our lives. Ka-ching. Maybe we need surgery. Ka-ching. Right? It's all about earning money
It's
from
not
you,
about
not your health.
protecting the individual. So our education about food, particularly, comes from all the wrong places. And so
Yes.
now we really don't know what to do, and we don't know what to believe, and we don't know. Therefore, we go back to old habits that are, and if we're significantly overweight, those habits are not going to get better by themselves.
No.
So my book is all about the why so that the how will be easy. And
I love it.
meaning you need to know the facts so that you can make better decisions about what you eat. It
Exactly.
also has a fitness component and it also has a mindset component. In other words, the way everything you eat is a choice. Well, your mind
Yeah.
decides.
Mind,
And
body are connected.
exactly. And if you see something that's in front of you, that doesn't mean you have to choose to eat it. So we
No.
have to become much more discriminatory about what we actually put in to get the best result.
And
Yeah.
it's not just medicine and therapy, right? Because nowadays, a pepper, or we call it a paprika,
Yes.
it almost has no nutritional value. You need to eat at least 40 to 60 of them to get the same nutritional value of one
Mhm.
when my parents or my grandparents were young. And so
I
our
see.
our earth becomes depleted, so we don't get all our nutritions from our food anymore. So then the other billion-dollar industry is supplements.
Exactly.
Supplements for this, supplements for that. So not medication per se, but supplements. And then the majority of the supplements don't even work.
Exactly. As a matter of fact, that's also in my book, and that is that the research that has been done on supplements is that almost all of them don't have any effect at all. In other words, there's really no serious efficacy of any of those products. And yet
Exactly.
we think that they're going to change things when they really don't.
I went to a
It can be
holistic.
dangerous also if we take too many of these
Not only too many,
supplements.
but I went to a holistic dietitian and to work with the food problems that I was having. And because at one point I had a very one-sided foods to choose from because I was allergic to almost everything else. I got supplements, right, to supplement the things I wasn't able to eat. Then when the testing happened in the allergy clinic, I turned out to be allergic to almost all of the supplements they were giving me. So, it's no wonder I didn't improve no matter what I was doing.
Exactly. One thing was actually triggering another wrong thing. It can be that complicated,
Yes,
but you're right. So many of our foods today, as opposed to the caveman days, are so manipulated, and so many chemicals have joined the food industry that it's very hard to make choices. And
yes,
that's why whole food, plant-based is what we are advocating here. And I'm not the only one advocating it. You know, many of the American Dietetic Association, as well as the Cardiology, as well as Diabetic Association, are all recommending this type of diet. And the reason why is because it's far more pure. It's whole food, not manipulated in any way, and plant-based is better, especially if the plants you're choosing are the right ones. So, and they're organic and grown properly and not injected with hormones and antibiotics and
that's
everything
the
else.
other part, right? Because I am also a licensed acupuncturist, so I studied Chinese medicine, and a large part of that is also food. And I know that we need meat to make blood. There are so many valuable things in there that we need to make blood. So men need beef and women need chicken in order to produce new blood or to help the spleen create new blood. But meat nowadays is no longer the meat that the caveman met. And the meat in Europe is a lot better even
It
than
is.
meat in the United States. I was shocked, and not positively, when I learned about the massive additives that animals are getting in their food that also then come into our system.
That's
So
correct. Yes.
on a large scale. So yeah, if you have the choice between largely contaminated meat or vegetables that you grew in your own garden, then for sure the vegetables in your own garden win.
Are going to be better. Yes.
Yes,
As long as the soil in which they're grown hasn't been contaminated by, and then you have all the issues of Roundup and other types of chemicals that are all around us too. In the United States, Roundup is still acceptable. I mean,
yes. And then of
and
course the water with which you water your crops can
and
also
then
be
you
full
see.
with whatever.
Yes. So it has become food has become very complicated, but
Yes,
we're trying to bring it down to basic levels so that we can make you well for a lifetime. Because lifetime health is an achievable goal.
yes,
Because we are so accustomed to taking a pill for everything
yes,
that become a way of life. When
yeah,
indeed that is not, and so many of them have side effects. As a matter of fact,
yes,
everyone says that the most common cause of death and illness is the
side effects.
disease and cancer. However, when you really look at it, it's three things. It's untoward and allergic reaction to prescribed drugs, medical error, and hospital-acquired infections. If you put
Yes,
those three together, they are the primary cause of death, at least in the United States.
yeah,
So so this is why I refer to it as a health crisis,
yeah,
because everywhere you look, from the foods we eat, from the pills we are taking, we are depleting ourselves of being how well we can be
Yes. Yeah.
unknowingly.
And I think in the United States, it might be the worst. I'm not sure, but it's definitely worse than it is in Europe because we have a lot more rules. But even here, there's a lot of things being added to it. And I was also allergic to something they put in the food in China. It's called glutamate. And it's the thing they add that makes you want to keep eating, but also the thing that makes even shoe the bottom of your shoe taste like something you cannot get enough of.
Yes. And food manufacturers, this is what they have done, adding chemicals, colors, and sweeteners to food to get you actually to what they refer to as the bliss point. The
Yes.
bliss point is they actually do brain waves to see whether or not you have reached the bliss point when you're eating that food that they are creating. And they do it deliberately because that's the point at which you can't resist it.
Yes.
Can you eat one potato chip? The answer is probably no.
No, you're going to eat
And
the
so
entire
many
bag.
other products like that. You
Yes.
cannot eat just one.
Yes.
So what you have to learn to do is don't eat any of them. And
Hmm.
then you won't have that issue.
Exactly. But that's my philosophy. As long as I don't buy it, it's not in the cupboard. And even when I crave it, it means that I first need to go to the supermarket to go and get it. And that's usually too much effort. So I don't do it and I don't eat it. But when it's in my cupboard, that's a whole other story. So prevention is better than having to deal with it in the moment. I totally
Absolutely.
agree.
And we often talk about finding the cure. And I find that upsetting because why are we looking for the cure instead of the prevention?
Yeah. Yeah,
Because cures are very expensive.
exactly.
Exactly. But prevention actually costs very little.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just knowledge and use that knowledge to your benefit.
But that's the
It's
problem, right? Because then they don't have any power over you and they are not earning any money off of you.
because prevention, you won't need, you will not need the medical system at all. And you
No, but
will not need those drugs,
the body
which,
has a really, really awesome self-regulating ability. It's really self-generating. It can keep itself in balance and it can also heal a lot of things, unless it's so out of balance that
right,
it cannot manage anymore, which is what happened with me. But in general, it's supposed to be able to keep itself in balance under the right circumstances. But the circumstances are so manipulated, being manipulated by the big pharmacies and the big food chains, that it's
it's
becoming,
almost impossible.
yes,
And for the average person, and actually as you research, or as I researched to do the book, I found that the real problem is that no one knows what to do. They really
yeah,
don't, because they're getting misinformation from everywhere. And the food companies are largely to blame.
hmm,
And as the story goes, the food manufacturers were beginning to see, because in the 1980s, 15% of the adult population in the United States were either overweight or obese. Right now, 66% of the American adult population is overweight or obese. And
yes,
so the big food was asked to look at this. And so they had a meeting where they were presented with the fact that they were actually contributing to this major health issue. And at the conclusion, because if one did it, they all have to do it. They all have to comply with new regulations that they would self-regulate. Or if not, if they weren't all in unison and one was allowed to continue manipulating food and the others didn't, you can see what would happen there.
exactly.
So at the conclusion of the meeting, after it was clearly outlined that they were contributing significantly to this health issue, they elected to do nothing. And the reason why is because the bottom line was more important than the health
Yes.
of people.
And
And
that's
so that's
really
where we are
sad.
now. So that's why we have to learn how to manage our body properly for lifetime health. Yes,
Yes.
it
Yeah,
is possible. And
exactly.
that's good news.
I'm
Yes,
also doing a lot of research into trauma and how trauma plays in this, because what I see is that trauma also directly influences our behaviors, but also food addictions, for instance. But it even affects us on a cellular level. So if you combine trauma and maybe emotional eating, for instance, with
yes,
the bad foods. And for us here in Europe, the United States are known as the supersized country, where everything comes in supersized portions that are 3 to 5 times as large as the portions here in Europe. And not only food, it's also your cars, your trucks, your houses,
and
everything.
all of the rest. Yes,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And
Yes.
it certainly wasn't for the benefit of us. It was for the benefit of Ching, as you were saying before.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
absolutely true. And
Yeah.
it's so unfortunate, but we make the choices. So all we need to
Yes.
learn is what choices to make. And that's what we're trying to do here, is to
Exactly.
create the why this choice and not that one, so that the how will be easy.
I love it.
Following it will be easy. Yes.
I've
So it's
often
been
had,
a long, long road of research, but I'm
yes.
very happy about the outcome. And now what we're going to be doing, I've aligned myself with a board certified preventive care physician.
Mhm.
And together we are going to be creating wellness weeks and wellness weekends so that we can train probably 20 people at a time to learn how to be well for a lifetime. And so we'll
That's
be
amazing.
starting that in the fall I have bed and breakfast inns in Rhode Island
Mhm.
on the beach. And so I feel that that particular area is very conducive to this type of learning. And we're
Yes.
also now looking for a site in Florida as well, so that if you wanted to do education vacation in the Northeast, that would be great in the summer, and in the winter
Yes.
you could do that in Florida. So
I
we're
love it.
working on all that. Yeah,
Yeah, it's very important. I've also often had discussions with producers of organic vegetables, for instance, or organic meat, because in general, that is a lot more expensive than the normal stuff, air quotes.
that is true.
And a lot of people, especially since COVID, are already struggling to make ends meet. So they often make poor choices based on their wallet, because the other stuff is in general cheaper, and then they need to make choices. So they go for the cheaper food, even though that might be bad or worse for them than the organic ones. So I asked them, why don't you make organic food cheaper? And they say, well, it's because not a lot of people buy it. And I said, well, that's wrong reasoning, because if organic food was the exact same price as normal food, I would bet you a lot more people would choose to buy the organic ones.
I
So
agree.
it's not more expensive because not a lot of people are buying it. It's more expensive to persuade people to buy the other stuff instead of the stuff that is healthier for them.
Very true. So that is a factor as well. At the same time, though, I think all in all, we eat too much, we eat too often, and we eat all the wrong things. So
Yes.
if we got to the point where we were eating what the body really needs and not more than that, we would probably find that we would be able to manage on a budgetary level much better, and it would
Yes.
be much better for us. I mean,
Exactly.
eating less is actually better,
Yeah.
and therefore you would buying less. And as you said, certainly don't buy the things that that would tempt you. It's better to leave them at the store, which is what
Yes.
I usually tell folks. If you really, really love something, leave it at the store,
Yeah.
because once it's home, then it's harder
It
because then
goes
you
in.
have to make a choice.
Eventually it goes in. Yes.
But if you had to get up and go to the store, you probably could forget about it. And that's a good
Yes.
thing to do.
Yes, yes, for
Yeah,
sure. It's people need to be more aware of what they put in their body and the effects it has on their body. And like we said before, mind and body are connected. So it's not just that what you think influences you on a cellular level, because that is true. Your thoughts influence you on a cellular
every
level. That's
level. Yeah,
epigenetics and such. But it's also if you put crap in yourself constantly, it makes the body sluggish, it makes the mind sluggish, it not allows you to sleep really well, you're constantly tired, you wake up tired, you don't have enough
right.
energy, and then you're a couch potato that eats even more potato chips on the couch while sipping your whatever drink you favor,
Exactly.
that's usually too high in caffeine, too high in sugar, too high in carbohydrates, or other
Absolutely.
things that are not in your best interest.
And it becomes a vicious cycle, but you
Yeah.
can stop it
Yes.
because again, everything that you eat is a choice and that
Yes.
choice is yours. So,
And one other thing I would like to share also for our viewers out there is I used to think that vegetables were boring and bland, not really great. But then I started following a couple of people who make really great vegan recipes, especially with the allergies. I had to do something, so that's how I got into it. And they make things that are incredibly flavorful and really, really yummy, and that only use things that the caveman would still recognize as food. So discovering that really gave me a very different perspective on the whole, well, eating your vegetable kind of thing. Because if you can only eat raw salad or raw cucumber or something, yeah, then I understand that that doesn't look very appetizing, and that might not really inspire you to go out and get that and eat that every day.
right,
I get it. But
exactly.
there are lots of ways in which you can really make yummy things that are more conscious and a lot more health conscious and better for you.
That is absolutely true, and it's absolutely amazing the variety of foods made out of vegetables that are so flavorful that you won't go back. And that's the whole goal here. So we have a whole recipe section of all of those things that you will, once you have them, you'll say, I don't need those other things anymore. So,
Exactly.
but you have to try it
Yes.
before you because we are creatures of habit and we've developed habits that are very, very damaging to the body. And that's why we're having this significant overweight and obesity problem, which is leading
Yes.
to all these chronic illnesses that leads to all these surgeries and medications and so on and so on, when all of that could be prevented if you
Yes.
just knew how good this change could be. And that's why when we bring people for
Exactly.
our wellness weeks, we will not only be training them, but we will also be feeding them so that when
Yes.
they go home, they'll say, my gosh, that was so good. And then you'll begin to create new habits.
Exactly. Yes. So things that I discovered, for instance, I am baking my own lentil bread.
Oh, great. Perfect.
Which is really good, so that I still can eat bread type of thing,
Yes.
or I can
Yes.
make not only sandwiches but also buns or things out of it, or tacos or tortillas
Yes.
or whatever.
Yes.
I've created variety versions of pizza bottoms. It can be red
Yes.
lentils, it can also be quinoa, or I even made broccoli into the bottom, or cauliflower into the
Or
bottom
cauliflower.
of
Yes.
my pizza.
You
And then
see?
top it with other veggies and nice herbs and such, and it was really, really flavorful. So it became like a really great exploration of what is possible. I also have pea pasta or lentil pasta, chickpea
Yes.
pasta.
That's right. Yes. These
things
are
like that.
wonderful as you're beginning to explore, so you understand so many, so amazing variety, such amazing variety. And
Yes,
so once you understand what to choose and put it together in a new recipe, you may find that you'll never go back. And that, of course, is my
exactly.
goal.
I even found two recipes to make brownies because one of my vices was always brownies. But this is
Uh-huh.
then either with sweet potato and dark chocolate and no added sugar in it, or with banana and dates and then cocoa
Yes,
powder.
yes. You
And it
see, that's
makes
it.
it really creamy. And then you add cauliflower to it, or you put zucchini in the other one. So you also get your veggies in without noticing it. And that's what makes it so creamy and juicy. And
Exactly. But
it's,
it's
yes,
as wonderful as any of the others, right? Yes.
yes,
And that's, of course, the message that we need to bring. You're not giving
exactly.
up something, you're gaining something new that is better for you, and the outcome is going to be lifetime health.
Exactly.
So
That is why I wanted to share these things that I've discovered because they are, in general, foods that people really love eating. And these are then the versions of it that allow you to keep on eating them without harming your health or feeling guilty.
exactly. It's amazing. It's like
Yes.
a brand new world of
Yes.
food that is so, but it's the food that is going to make you well
Exactly.
instead of the opposite. And
And
not to mention, when we really, the crisis is that we have created this overweight and obesity situation,
mhm.
but that also has other factors too. Self-esteem is not in the best place when you know that you don't look your best. And
Oh,
that influences getting new
body
jobs
shame. Yeah.
and everything about, and also if you're influencing children they're going to eat the way you eat. And so not only is it for yourself, but for any children that you might be influencing, because they're
Yes.
going to adopt, and right now in the United States, to about 20% of our youth, 2 to 19, are overweight already.
Right. Yeah.
And that's because, again, fast foods, convenience foods, chemicals, and all of these added
Trauma.
things that are not good for us.
Yeah.
That's what children are craving because they were brought up on it. But only if you happen to be a mom or you are in charge of children. It's not just
Yes.
for yourself, but others that you are influencing. So we need to think about
Yes.
that too.
Yes.
Also, when you are when you become overweight or obese, the possibility of having chronic illness is almost ensured.
Yes.
So, and then as you go on, you're going to have medical expenses and surgeries. And it is in the United States, it's the most common cause of bankruptcy. So there are
Yes.
so many other factors, not just your long-term health,
Mhm.
but other factors that come into play.
Yeah, I've heard horror stories about how expensive healthcare is in the United States, and
It's
I've been
ridiculous.
warned that when I go there, I need to additionally insure myself because my insurance will only cover what it would have cost here in Europe, and that's not
Exactly.
anywhere near enough for what it would cost when I go over there.
And that's the crisis. We
Yeah.
spend more on healthcare and we have the worst health outcomes. And that is a tragedy, but that
Yes,
is what is happening. And the
incredibly sad.
reason why are all
Yeah.
the things we just spoke about. But
Yeah.
they're all correctable, and that's the positive outcome here.
Yes.
That if you make the right choices, you will have the right outcome. And that's
Exactly.
that's where my book comes in.
I love it. And were
Yes.
there also recipes in your book? Yeah,
I
right?
have a whole chapter on recipes for everything, for breakfast, dinner, and the most extravagant dinners. As a matter of fact, I made dinner one evening, a very beautiful um, dinner, and but it was all vegan, and I had some guests over, and I saw the gentleman about a month later, and he said, "Remember that conversation we had about, choosing this, not that, and making all the right food choices?" And he said, "I followed." everything we were talking about that night. He said, I lost 27 pounds in a month. And he was, needless to say, delighted. And that's actually a common story. When you're putting the right things in, you're going to get the right outcomes. So,
Exactly.
yeah,
Oh,
it's
I
been very
love it.
exciting to see people make those changes and get those
Exactly.
outcomes.
And
Yeah.
when is your book coming out?
Well, right now it's in copyright. Copyright here takes, it could take a month, it could take two, but
Mhm.
once it's out, everything is designed and it's ready to go straight to the publisher. So hopeful, I'm prayerful that it will be September.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
definitely before the end of the year.
Yes, yes.
I
So
love it. Keep me
super.
updated. I would
Oh,
love.
yes, will do.
I
Yes.
love it. So I can imagine that everybody that has been listening to our discussion also would love your book. So I cannot give you the link yet because it hasn't come out, but I'll make
Right.
sure that I update this episode with the link to buy Anne's book when it comes out. But in the meantime, where can they find you? Where can they contact you? How do you want to be contacted?
You could leave my email there up on the screen and contact me anytime. And I'll be happy to tell you when the book is coming out or begin to invite you to our seminars, the weekend and week-long wellness weeks and wellness weekends.
I love it.
They will be starting probably this fall.
So important. We as a world need to change. We need to do better. We need to learn about so many different things, but our health should be number one
Number one,
priority.
yes, there's nothing more important when you really think about it.
If you're not healthy, and also what you said, if you are not feeling comfortable in your body, when I don't feel comfortable in my body, I show that when I am dating or when I'm in a relationship. I show that to my partner. But my partner is also not happy in his body, then he shows that to me. Then we are two unhappy people who are not happy in our body, and that doesn't do anything that's positive for our sex life. For
The
starters.
self-esteem that comes with having making you feel good about the way you look is enormous.
Yes.
It's absolutely enormous. So even if that isn't the reason why you may make the right choices,
Mm,
but when the outcome has that will have the effect where you feel, when you feel good about you, you're ready to get that best job. You're ready
sure.
to take on the world and
Sure.
all the other things that come from a real boost of self-esteem. And
Yes.
that will come naturally as soon as you get your body in the right place. Not to mention you're going to feel
Yes.
revitalized. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Because it's internally and externally, mentally and physically, and
Right.
dare I say, even spiritually, all is connected. And
Yes.
to be the best version of yourself, you need to make sure that your motor runs on the best possible fuel.
It's that simple.
Yes.
But that is how it is. And the body will tell you everything to do. It tells you when to eat and tells you when to drink. It tells you that you need to take some exercise. Tells you everything if you just listen
Yes.
and read my book.
Yes, for sure. So if you're watching this and listening, if you're new, then I would love it if you could subscribe to the channel and maybe hit the notification bell so you will never miss another wonderful interview like this one here today. And I would also love it while you're at it if you could leave in the comment section what your biggest insight was of my talk with Anne here today, or maybe your key takeaways, or even if you want to share personal stories, things that you've experienced that are related to what we talked about. We would love to hear you and we would love to read about it in the comments. And for today, I think there's nothing left than just to give a really big thanks to you, Anne, for sharing your wisdom, for all the research that you've done, the beautiful book that's coming out, and all of your knowledge that you've shared with us here this evening. So thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. I look forward to being here again, and hopefully that book will come out soon
Yes.
so that I can share everything and make everyone well for a lifetime.
I look forward to that as well. For today, I have nothing left to say to all of you watchers, viewers out there, and you, and of course, as well, to have an amazing rest of your day, to take really good care of yourself, and to invite you back next week where I have another wonderful talk with another wonderful guest. Have a great rest of your day and talk again soon.
Thank you. Take care. Bye now.